Thank you for tuning in to Shared Hope International's Invading the Darkness, an anti-sex trafficking podcast. We want to acknowledge that the content we discuss can be emotionally challenging and may evoke strong reactions. The stories we share often involve tough subjects related to suffering caused by sex trafficking, which may be difficult for some listeners to hear. Listener discretion is advised.
So my mom moved to Florida, got connected with, his name is Daniel Macias, and that was kind of where her story began with him. Was she gave over a lot of finances to him because they were wanting to start a scuba shop that ultimately ended up never happening. And then from there, it just spiraled into her. She ended up working in a brothel by his coercion. She was sold online by him. She lost about $20,000, probably even more than that. And just very much was in a stuck position with him. And so that was kind of, in a nutshell, what happened with her. Eventually, I came into the picture. We were both trafficked by the same man at the same time.
And how old were you?
I was 15 at the time, almost 16. I think I had just turned maybe 16. And I moved to Florida in the middle of my junior year in high school.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. So how did it become then a law enforcement thing? How did they get on to the trafficker, and then how does your mom get kind of tangled up in that?
So my mom and I should say my mom, because she did the most of this, but I was actually talking to him on the way here about it. I remember her pushing me into the corner of our couch, and he was living in the apartment at the time, and so she was kicking him out, and so she pushed me in the corner of the couch, and she just sat in front of me, like just guarding me, and told him, "We're not working for you anymore. We want nothing to do with you. You need to leave the apartment immediately." And then right after, he threw some things, he yelled, he screamed, he did his little thing, and then he left. And then right away, my mom and I went to the police. And at first, we had said that we kicked a guy out of our apartment. He had cameras and stuff set up in our apartment. So we were telling them, like, we don't know how to get these down. Like, I don't know where they're at. We were just scared because we didn't want him to come back. And so we told them that. And of course, police hearing that story, they're like, I don't think I'm getting the whole story here. And so they ended up coming to the apartment. They swept the apartment, found all the things that were in it. And then 2 detectives were sent out as well, because I think they knew there was more to the story.
Yeah.
And so then over the next several hours, it kind of unfolded. And I remember talking to one of the female detectives, and she asked me over and over again, like, "Are you sure that nothing else happened?" And I was like, no. Like,
Why didn't you talk more about it? Do you remember?
I mean, the main thing was that Daniel had said that I was prostituting myself and I would get arrested, and like I would get in trouble. And he said the same thing to my mom. And so neither one of us wanted to get in trouble for anything that was happening, but we obviously were scared. So we knew that we needed the police to be involved.
Sure.
And then the story unfolded. I grew up in a very small town, and I didn't know that sex trafficking was even a thing. I knew prostitution was a thing, and so I didn't even have a term to coin it as at the time. And so then over the next few days, they learned that the trafficking was done over state lines, so then it became a federal case, and the FBI took over at that point, and then we were put in protective custody.
At what point along the way, if you remember, did you guys discover that your mom was going to be a defendant in this case?
It was weeks and weeks into the investigation. We went to the police the beginning of July, it was probably like July 14th of like 2015. And then she was arrested like August 24th.
And
so after the evidence had been given over, we were super helpful in the investigation.
Sure. So she's cooperating.
Yeah.
Do you remember whether any of the law enforcement or any of the prosecutors had any sense that she might have been a victim in this case and maybe should be treated differently, or was that not on the?
It was on some of their minds.
Okay.
So the detectives that we spoke to, Detective Aldridge is the first one. Amazing man. I have the most respect for him. He saw the situation for what it was and knew that this was very unique. Then the FBI agents on the case were both actually going to speak on behalf of my mom if she went to trial. And they saw her as a victim. The U.S. prosecutor did not see her as a victim. And that's how she ended up getting charged.
Do you have any idea why the prosecutor saw it differently than the others who were involved in the investigation of the case and the prosecutors involved in the nuts and bolts of the case as well, but why such a difference between, some of the people and the prosecutor?
Yeah. I think the simple fact is that it became personal and it was handled improperly.
Yeah.
The job of the prosecutor is to look at the facts and move forward with the case with the facts. And in this situation, the prosecutor made a personal opinion about my mom. And if she would have looked at the facts, she would have seen my mom as a victim. But she made it personal and saw her as a criminal.
Which is insane. Even at your age then, did you have a sense of what was going on, or a sense that what's going on here is wrong?
Absolutely. I remember when Brandy and Greg came to me saying that they wanted to give Daniel a plea deal of distribution of child pornography. And I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I'd ever heard. Because while that was a part of the case, it was not what simply happened. The trafficking was completely thrown to the side. And frankly, I think they wanted a slam dunk case. And he could have gotten life in prison, but he only got 30 years because they took a plea deal.
Wow.
And I didn't feel comfortable with that, but I don't really know what the option was. And I think my mom also got drug into that, where they got 2 offenders rather than just 1 on a case. And I think the numbers mattered way more to them than they did a person's life.
Interesting. Did your mom testify against him?
She did.
Can you talk a little bit about what happened to her? I mean, we've got a prosecution of a victim, a conviction of victim for conspiracy to commit human trafficking. So what was the fallout for her, and what's it been like for her?
Absolutely. So, during the trafficking, so she had the trauma from, as all victims, the trauma of being sold for sexual purposes. Like, you already feel degraded. You already feel worthless and disgusting. And she actually ended up getting cancer from it. She had uterine cancer. So she not only had those effects, then she had the medical effects. And so she was sold in a brothel by Daniel, and she was sold on Backpage by Daniel. And then following the investigation, she brought that trauma into things, and then was very scared to go to trial because you're facing life in prison. So that was a very big mental effect on her. And then being a convicted felon and a convicted sex offender has absolutely ruined every aspect of her life. She did 8 years of probation. She actually ended up just getting it terminated early. because she had perfect behavior.
Yeah.
But for the first year of being a sex offender, she was in group sex offender classes.
Yeah.
So here you have this victim of sex trafficking sitting in a group session with actual perpetrators.
I remember her, when I talked to her, I remember her telling me about that experience, and I could feel, sorry, I knew this was going to happen. I could feel her sense of shame, which she didn't deserve to have that feeling.
No.
It's in the sense that that's a life sentence. You know,
Absolutely.
It's like whatever they did, lowering the charge to a conspiracy did her absolutely no good. But really the sort of underlying problem here is a justice problem, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I wanted to get to, I asked how your mom, but how about you? What happened with you after that? I mean, because it wasn't in a vacuum, right? It wasn't just your mom that was affected by this. Both of your lives were impacted in an unimaginable way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I luckily was treated as a victim. So I had a much different experience than my mom. When she got arrested, I have an amazing dad. He is very involved, but I also knew that he wasn't going to be able to pay for me to go to college. I knew he wasn't going to be able to get me the counseling and help that I needed. And so whenever she got arrested, I was the only one living in Florida with her at the time. So I went to an emergency foster care and ended up talking with some of the workers there. And they told me that if you are in foster care for more than 6 months in Florida, that you can get free college until you're 28. And so I decided to take full advantage of that.
Stuck it out in foster care.
And
right?
I was like, you know what? Let's do this.
Yeah.
Like, let's make some good out of this.
Yeah.
And so I luckily got placed in the most amazing foster care I could have been in. I was in Wings of Shelter in Florida. And I spent about just over a year there, and I turned 18 and graduated out of the program. While I was there, I started college because I had already graduated high school. And so I started college. I did mission trips to Haiti. I got very involved in church there. And truly, like, I wouldn't be the person that I am today if I wouldn't have had the foster care experience that I did, which I fully am grateful for, because not every foster care situation is that.
For sure.
A lot of the girls, this was specifically for female minor victims of sex trafficking. So this group home was just filled with broken stories of people at foster cares that were taken advantage of and further victimized. And I mean, my story was very different.
Yeah.
So then I graduated out of the program. I started right in on working in advocacy and human trafficking. That's how we got connected. And so, yeah, it's just been uphill from there. Now I'm a licensed social worker and just making the best out of it.
It's such a unique journey. I mean, a journey that shouldn't have started, but what you've done with it and what you've accomplished and the courage and everything along the way is remarkable.
Well, I think it goes to show, like, when victims are provided with opportunities to further themselves in a safe environment, what they can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unstoppable.
Wow, what an intense and emotional story Courtney has shared. It's heartbreaking that her mom was a victim of trafficking and didn't get the support that she needed from the legal system. I think it's important to highlight that despite the trauma Courtney's mom endured, she was not even seen as a victim by the prosecutor. They even thought that they had 2 for 1. Even though law enforcement and the FBI did, this is a clear example of why we need trauma-informed approaches in the legal system. Kim, what are your thoughts?
Exactly, Yvonne. It's such a powerful reminder of how the legal system can fail victims. The prosecutor's failure to recognize Courtney's mom as a victim and instead criminalizing her, it's not just an oversight. It's a reflection of how the systematic biases can impact victims of trafficking. This is why we continue to stress the need for proper training, such as our VOI training that we offer for free on our website, The link is below. It's about understanding the trauma and the victim-offender dynamics that so many survivors experience.
And I love how Courtney emphasizes that not all victims experience the same path. While her mom faced the criminal justice system, Courtney was recognized as a victim and placed in a foster care. And she was lucky to be in a positive, safe environment, a rare thing for survivors. But it also speaks volumes about how trauma-informed care can change the direction of a survivor's life. Kim, we've talked a lot about trauma-informed approaches in the legal systems and why it's so necessary. What do you think could have been done differently in the case to help Courtney's mom?
I think there's a need for more comprehensive support systems, things like understanding the impact of trauma and using that understanding when interacting with survivors in the legal system. Instead of treating Courtney's mom as a criminal, she should have been supported and seen as a victim in need of help, not punishment. And as Courtney said, the prosecutor's decision wasn't based on the facts. That's where the system really fails. And this just isn't one isolated case. It's happening to survivors all over the country.
All right, well, let's go ahead and pause there because I would like people to join us next week for part 2. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel.
Thank you for listening to Shared Hope International's Invading the Darkness podcast. You can continue to listen and watch our podcast on all streaming platforms. To learn more about what Shared Hope International is doing and take action to end child sex trafficking, please visit us at sharedhope.org.